Since their AFL debut in season 2011, the Gold Coast Suns have arguably been the family member at the dinner table who's skated through life and has nothing to show for it. And with 6 bottom 4 finishes in their 9 completed AFL seasons, it's easy to see why. After being given 6 of the first 10 draft picks in the 2011 draft, as well as the eligibility to sign 16 extra AFL players who were uncontracted at the time, they'd built themselves quite a list. All revolved around one man, Gary Ablett Jr. As well as the Little Master, the Suns also signed on Campbell Brown, Nathan Bock, Michael Riscatelli, Jared Brennan, Josh Fraser and Jared Harbrow, just to name a few. Their debut season went as expected, minimal wins and a fair few heavy defeats. They did, however, have some highlights. Their inaugural 3-point win over Port Adelaide was one that will forever live in club history, but as well as their 2 other wins in their debut year, they went on to win the Wooden Spoon. 2012 was a similar story. The first year with 18 teams, the Suns finished 17th with 3 wins after losing their first 14 matches in a row, but a loss to AFL newcomers GWS also left a sour taste in the Suns' mouth. In 2013, there was a noticeable change within Gold Coast season. 8 wins and a 14th place finish led many to believe that the Suns weren't too far away from finals football. A second Brownlow to Gary Ablett was the cream on top of a very exciting year for the men up at Metricon. After veterans Campbell Brown and Jared Brennan retired at the end of 2013, 2014 saw the Suns start off very well. Holding a record of 7-2 after the first 9 and looking finals ready, an injury to club star Gary Ablett derailed the second half of the season. They finished 12th. Ablett's injury sparked the wildfire within Gold Coast, being that the conclusion of the 2014 season would spell the end of coach Guy McKenna's time at the Suns. Rodney Eade would take over. Many thought that Rocket's injection of finals experience and footy brain would be the change the Suns needed. Unfortunately, they were wrong. Injury-plagued star Gary Ablett, and his influence was greatly missed around the ground. 2015 saw the Suns slump 16th on the ladder, with only 4 wins. 2016 saw a climb up to 15th with a record of 6 and 16. Gary Ablett was ruled out for the majority of the season via shoulder surgery, and the Suns were lost without him. The no Gary, no Gold Coast call started to ring true. The shining light, if any, for the Suns was that Tom Lynch kicked 66 majors, and he, along with players such as O'Meara, Prestia and Stephen May, were the foundations of a list after the remaining originals retired. To top things off, Gary Ablett requested a trade home to Geelong, although it was denied. 2017 saw the end of the Gary Ablett experiment. Shoulder surgery again ended his season and his time at the Suns. He requested a trade again, and this time it was granted. After a 14-game, best and fairest winning season, some saw the trade as a shock, but after murmurs the year prior, more often than not, that doubt created in the previous year always carries through. Rodney Eade was relieved of his coaching duties and Stuart Dew took his spot. 2018 and 2019 again saw a decline for the Suns. Finishing 17th and 18th in each respective year, they haven't been able to break those shackles yet. And it's amazing to think that if the Gold Coast Suns had made finals in 2013 or even 2014 and Ablett had stayed injury free, how much difference it could have made to the club. Another AFL what if. Maybe Ablett and a host of other players don't leave, we'll get to that, and it may have made Rocket Eade's job a lot easier when he eventually took over. 2020, although no one knows what the bloody hell is going on, has shown relative promise for Gold Coast. Ben King and Jack Lukosius are coming into their skin, Matt Rowell has been huge, pre-injury anyway, and even Isaac Rankin looked electric in his debut. They're not in the position to win the flag in my opinion, not yet anyway. But if this list stays together, who knows what's on the horizon? I think the issue for the Suns starts at the very beginning, and that almost hurts to say. They built their team around Gary Ablett, amongst others, yes I know, but a 5-year, nearly $10 million deal speaks volumes to me. Their issue has been consistency, but in comparison to their younger brother GWS, and there's a video coming on them too, they've had none. All the promise they had left, and the Gold Coast Suns were left with the pieces. They had stars too. I mean, you only have to look at players such as Jaeger O'Meara, Dion Prestia, Tom Lynch, Stephen May, Adam Saar, Jack Martin, and I'm sure a host of other players have become stars elsewhere too. That's easy to look at. But looking back at that what if beforehand, who knows what would happen if any of them stayed? When a player asks for a trade, there's usually a reason behind it. Be it homesickness, family issues, injuries, a better financial offer, or something else, it's usually pretty easy to pick. That's the same for the 6 mentioned above at least. They all went hunting success elsewhere because they felt there wasn't any to be found at Gold Coast. Not in their AFL lifetimes anyway. It's not all doom and gloom for the Suns though, is it? Finally, they've looked for and hunted experience. They took their priority picks and traded their latest stuff for some underrated players with that experience they've been looking for. Brandon Ellis, Hugh Greenwood and Zach Smith have all added value to the Suns. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. They've followed what other teams around them have done, being Hawthorn, North Melbourne, Essendon and St Kilda, and it's starting to show. Who knows what 2020 looks like for any team, but if the Suns can secure themselves a finals berth, or at least a spot between 9th and 11th, 2021 could be the season we finally see the Suns live up to their potential.